Good morning Year 9 GCSE students, I hope you are well. Today's lesson is on the 11 components of fitness. As always, I'm going to differentiate. Red ink is going to be the describe and the explain, the information you need to access the lower marks. The blue ink is going to be the apply and analyse to access the medium grades, and to access the higher grades you have to critically evaluate. And that is in the green ink. Now, there are 11 components of fitness. I personally like to separate them into two fields: health-related components of fitness and skill-related components of fitness. The reason why I like to do that is because even if you don't play sport, everybody needs a modicum of the 5 health-related components just to live a healthy lifestyle. Whereas if you are a sportsman, you need the health-related factors and the skill-related factors in abundance. Not all of them for all sportsmen, but we'll talk about that as we go through the slides. So, the first health-related component of fitness is cardiovascular endurance. The ability for the whole body to work for extended periods of time. In order to do that, oxygen delivery has to be excellent. The prime example of an athlete who needs good cardiovascular endurance is a marathon runner. So in your exams, please go for the obvious performer. Marathon runners need brilliant cardiovascular fitness in order to complete the 26 miles as quickly as possible. A great fitness test for cardiovascular endurance is the multi-stage fitness test. You might know it as the BLEEP test. Two other tests that are good for cardiovascular endurance are the Cooper's 12-minute run or the Harvard step test. And we will be doing those tests when we come back after this lockdown situation finishes. Okay, the second health-related component of fitness is muscular endurance. The ability to repeat contractions for an extended period of time. Lots of different sportsmen who play games that last for an extended period need good muscular endurance because they're repeating contractions for the entirety of that game. So the obvious one would be a football centre midfield player who needs good muscular endurance in order to make runs for 90 minutes, to track opponents or to make runs into space, to be available for the ball in order to be effective in that game. A test for muscular endurance is the 1-minute sit-up test or the 1-minute press-up test. It's unfortunate that in our exam body there isn't a muscular endurance test for the legs. So it's a little bit false for me, but they're the two tests that we have to do for our course. The third health-related component of fitness is body composition. That's the ratio of body weight that is either muscle, bone or fat. Now, some sportsmen need a really high ratio of muscle, they need really large muscle mass. So for example, a sprinter would want a really high ratio of muscle because he's hoping that that's type 2X muscle fibres that exert loads of speed and power and strength so that he can finish his race as quickly as possible. Whereas someone like a high jumper actually doesn't want a high percentage muscle mass, certainly doesn't want a high percentage fat because muscle and fat weighs, and he needs to jump as high as he can. So he would actually, or she would actually have a high percentage of bone in relation to muscle and fat. So it depends what sport you play for what is the preferable percentage. A test to measure body composition is skin fold caliper tests. The fourth health-related component of fitness is muscular strength. That's the maximum force that you can exert in one contraction, or the maximum force you can exert against a resistance. An obvious example for this would be a rugby prop who, if he has great muscular strength will be able to ruck, tackle, lift in the lineouts, maul with greater effectiveness. A test for muscular strength, well, you can do one rep max tests, or you can do a hand grip dynamometer test. The last component in this health-related area is flexibility. Flexibility is the range of movement at a joint, and flexibility is important for several reasons. A gymnast would need great flexibility, but not just because they need to move their body into kind of bespoke positions to look aesthetically brilliant, but also if they've got good flexibility, they're less likely to get muscle strains, muscle injuries, which would lead to reversibility because they have to stop training. And also, if you have good flexibility, good range of movement, you've got more effective levers. So you can apply greater forces during your routine. A test for flexibility, well, there's loads, but the obvious one is a sit and reach test. Now, the skill-related components. My students remember these because they use a mnemonic to help them. And it's Turner, myself unfortunately, can be a right pain sometimes. But they don't use the T. They just like to remember that it's me. It could be anybody, but I don't know why they say Turner. But Turner can be a right pain sometimes. So the C is coordination. Coordination is the ability to move two or more body parts at the same time and under control. So for example, a high board diver would coordinate his legs and his arms to find aesthetic positions in flight, or a dancer in flight also might have arms one way, legs the other, body twisted, all coordinated to look aesthetic in order to get higher marks. A test for coordination is an alternate hand throw test. Turner can be, so the B is balance. Balance is stability of the body's centre of mass above its base of support. So balance can be static, so not moving. So for example, a 100-metre sprinter on the starting blocks would have to be balanced, otherwise he would topple and it would be a false start and disqualification. It can be a dynamic balance, so for example a winger on a football pitch having dynamic balance in order to body swerve past a defender. Turner can be A is agility. Agility is the ability to change direction quickly and under control. Lots of different sportsmen need agility. It could be a rugby winger sidestepping a defender to break through the gain line. It might be a football winger dribbling past an opponent, a hockey player similarly. And a test to measure agility is the Illinois agility test. Turner can be a right, so R, reaction time. Reaction time is how quickly you respond to a stimulus. A sprinter on the starting blocks needs great reaction time in order to react to the sound of the gun, or a goalkeeper in football needs great reaction time in order to react to the trajectory, to the speed of the ball coming at him in order to make a save. A test for reaction time would be the ruler drop test. Turner can be a right pain, so P, power. Power is quite simply strength times speed. It's an explosive act. A shot putter is the obvious example here for your exam. The greater the power, the greater he's going to be able to put his shot and greater chance of winning. A test for power, it could be a vertical jump test or it could be a standing broad jump test. And lastly, Turner can be a right pain sometimes. Obviously it's not all the time, just some of the time, is speed. So speed is the ability to move the whole body or just part of the body quickly. A 100-metre sprinter would need great speed to get from A to B, the start to the finish, as quickly as possible. Whereas a table tennis player would need really great arm speed, not whole body speed, but arm speed when he's playing a topspin drive in order to hit through an opponent who is already outmanoeuvred wide. Okay, so they are the 11 components of fitness. We are going to test them all as soon as we're back in school, so I can't wait for that. What I'd like to do now, please, is you'll find this slide on Show My Homework. Copy it into your blue books. It's there as a photo attachment, so put that photo attachment onto your mobile phones, please. Remember, if you have wasted time at home, you can just flick through the camera, your photo album, or you can flick through your blue book and just revise them, please. Okay, please stay safe, please isolate, and I wish you all the very best.